Introduction to probability. One way to express probability is to use a fraction. The probability of an event, the P of an event, equals the number of favorable outcomes over the number of total possible outcomes. Here's an example. What is the probability of flipping a nickel and the nickel landing on heads? Step 1. What are the possible outcomes? Well, heads and tails. Step 2. What is the number of favorable outcomes? Heads. We are wondering what the probability of getting heads is. Our number of favorable outcomes is 1, which is heads. Step 3. Put it all together to answer the question. The probability of flipping a nickel and landing on heads is 1 over 2, because we have the number of favorable outcomes over the number of possible outcomes. The outcomes becomes your denominator. So the probability of getting heads is a fraction where the denominator is the total number of possible outcomes and the favorable outcomes becomes your numerator. So here, the probability of heads is 1. 1 over 2. Probability can be expressed in many forms. For example, the probability of flipping a head can be expressed as 1 over 2 or 1 to 2 or 50% or 0.5. Here, the probability of randomly selecting a blue marble can be expressed as 1, because there's one favorable outcome, 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 possible outcomes. So 1 over 6, or 16.7%, or 1 to 6, or 0.167. When there is no chance of an event occurring, the probability of the event is 0. See here, we have impossible at 0. When it is certain that an event will occur, the probability of the event is 1. 1 is certain. The less likely it is for an event to occur, the probability is closer to 0, like a smaller fraction. So 1/4 is unlikely, whereas the more likely it is for an event to occur, the probability is closer to 1. So 3/4 is likely, and 1 out of 2 is equally likely to occur. Without counting, can you determine if the probability of picking a red marble is less than or greater than 1/2? Well, it is very likely you will pick a red marble, so the probability is greater than 1/2. See, if you just look, you see a lot more red marbles than blue marbles, so that you can see that the probability of selecting a red marble would be very likely, so greater than 1/2. What is the probability of picking a red marble? 5 out of 6. Because the possible outcomes are 6, that's your denominator, and the favorable outcomes, the one you want, is a red marble, and you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 favorable outcomes here, so 5 out of 6. Add the probabilities of both events, so picking a blue marble and picking a red marble. Picking a blue marble is 1 out of 6, and picking a red marble is 5 out of 6, so it sums to 1. The sum of all possible outcomes is always equal to 1. There are 3 choices of jelly beans: grape, cherry, and orange. If the probability of getting grape is 3 out of 10, and the probability of getting cherry is 1 out of 5, then what's the probability of getting orange? Well, we know that added all together, these 3 probabilities will always equal 1. So we know that the probability of getting grape is 3 out of 10, and the probability of getting cherry is 1 out of 5. So if we add in one mystery fraction here for the probability of getting orange, we know that those equal 1 when you add them together. So if we change this to a common denominator, this becomes 2 over 10. So when you add 3 over 10 plus 2 over 10, you get 5 over 10. So 5 over 10 plus our mystery probability equals 1. Therefore, the probability of getting an orange jelly bean is 5 out of 10, because this is half, therefore we have to add another half in order to equal 1, so 5 out of 10, or 1/2.